Good morning. Today is day 8 of reading to improve my enunciation, and today is a full moon, and tomorrow is my thesis defense. So let's just go ahead and continue where we stopped to read and improve my enunciation and also pronunciation. And go ahead. Step 4, fractal imprinting. Oh, timer. Step 4, fractal imprinting, solidifying the structure. A fractal that has been structurally extracted, resonance tested, and environmentally anchored still requires a final process of imprinting to ensure it holds as a stable governing directive rather than a temporary construct. Many fractals collapsed not because they were improperly structured, but because they were never fully imprinted into the individual's reality framework. Until a fractal is fully imprinted, it remains a conscious effort rather than an automatic governing law. Fractal imprinting ensures that the structured fractal becomes the default framework through which reality is processed, eliminating the need for reinforcement or maintenance. The three most common causes of failed imprinting. The fractal is still treated as a concept rather than a governing directive. A fractal cannot remain optional or hypothetical if it is fully to be imprinted. Many people maintain a distance from their structured fractal, still perceiving it as something separate from their core framework. Example of a failed imprinting. Someone structures a self-worth fractal but still internally analyzes whether they truly believe it or whether it is taking an effect. Correction. The fractal must be treated as an absolute directive, not as an idea to be tested until it is accepted as structurally real. It will remain in a tentative state. 2. The fractal is overwritten by contradictory substructures. A fractal will not hold if there are pre-existing structures that contradict it. If a deeper systematic pattern negates the new imprint, the original structure will eventually override the newly introduced fractal. Example of failed imprinting. A person structures an ease-based success fractal, but their core framework still holds effort is required for value. The deeper fractal will override the imprint. Correction. All contradictory substructures must be identified and collapsed before imprinting is complete. A new fractal cannot exist alongside a competing framework. 3. The fractal is not fully integrated into identity processing. A fractal must become a part of the identity framework to be fully imprinted. Many fractals fail because they are structured as external ideas rather than internalized identity markers. Example of failed imprinting. A person structures a leadership fractal but still perceives leadership as something they step into rather than someone they inherently are. Correction. The fractal must be integrated into the individual's self-processing structure so that it operates as an internal directive rather than an external application. Step 5. Stability testing. Ensuring long-term structural integrity. A fractal that has been structured, resonance tested, anchored, and imprinted must still undergo stability testing to ensure that it remains intact under all conditions. Many fractals appear stable in a controlled environments but collapse when exposed to external pressure, contradictions, or unpredictable circumstances. A structurally sound fractal is not situationally dependent. It holds across all context, states, and interactions. Stability testing ensures that the fractal is not subtly contingent on ideal conditions and that it does not degrade over time due to residual contradictions or systemic incompatibility. The three most causes of fractal instability. The fractal holds in controlled conditions. A fractal that is only functional in specific environments or mental states is not fully stabilized. If the fractal collapses under stress, contradiction, or external interference, it was never absolute. Example of instability. A person structures a confidence fractal that holds when they are alone but collapses in high stakes interactions. Correction. The fractal must be tested under progressively more challenging conditions to ensure it holds universally. 2. The fractal requires continuous mental reinforcement. A truly stable fractal does not require ongoing conscious reinforcement. It still depends on focus, affirmations, or belief reinforcement. It is not fully stabilized. Example of instability. A person structures an ease based success fractal but finds that they must actively hold a state of ease for it to remain effective. Correction. A stable fractal functions without attention. If focus is required to maintain, the imprinting process was incomplete. 3. The fractal is eroded by unconscious contradictions. If a fractal is unknowingly reinforced alongside a contradictory framework, it will gradually weaken until it fully collapses. Example of instability. A person structures a wealth fractal but maintains unconscious association between security and struggle. Over time, the underlying contradiction weakens the fractal. Correction. All unconscious contradictions must be identified and eliminated before stability is fully confirmed. The role of stability testing is ensuring long term structural integrity. A structured fractal is not truly complete until it has been confirmed to look under all conditions. Stability testing ensures that the fractal is functional across all environments and states, not just in controlled conditions. The fractal does not require mental reinforcement to remain intact. The fractal is free from residual contradictions that could erode its integrity over time. Once a fractal successfully passes stability testing, it is no longer a construct that requires maintenance or reinforcement. It exists as an inherent governing structure that directs reality without effort. Holding the void, the transitional instability of a newly authored fractal. Authorship is not just the act of structuring a new fractal, it is the process of holding it until reality has no choice but to align. The moment a new fractal is authored, it enters a rendering phase, a period where reality rearranges itself to accommodate the new structure. During this phase, the previous fractal structure's inertia will generate resistance, not because the new fractal is weak, but because the system has not fully adjusted. The old framework is still running in the background, and every structure that was dependent on it will attempt to stabilize itself, either by integrating into a new fractal or by pulling the system back into previous form. This is not a test of belief, it's a mechanical process. The external world will initially behave as if nothing has changed, presenting contradictions that, if engaged to it, will cause a new fractal to collapse before it was even fully materialized. This is the void period, the critical point where the authorship is either stabilized or abandoned. Why the void must be held without compromise? A newly authored fractal is not dominant until it is fully reinforced. It does not immediately override reality. It must gain priority within the structural hierarchy. If this process is interrupted, the fractal remains unstable and will eventually revert to its previous form. The most common mistakes in this phase include checking for validation. Searching for proof that fractal is working signals uncertainty, which weakens its priority within the system. Reality does not provide confirmation until after the fractal is fully logged in. Reacting to contradiction. The first external reflections often after authoring a fractal will often mirror the old structure, not because the shift failed, but because the rendering process is still in motion. If this is mistaken as a proof of failure, the fractal collapses. Third, adjusting the fractal prematurely. If the structure is written too soon, it never has a chance to stabilize. Many people dismantle their own authorship by modifying or softening the fractal before it has fully rendered. Holding the void is the final act of authorship. It is what separates a fractal that becomes a governing directive from one that remains theoretical. How to hold the void until reality locks the structure. Fractal stabilizes when reality has no remaining contradictions to anchor into. This means there must be no negotiation, no reactivity, no wavering over only absolute certainty. The shift will not lock in because of the effort or belief, it will lock in because it is the only available structure left standing. To successfully stabilize a new fractal, refuse to engage with contradiction. Contradiction is the not proof of failure, it is the remnant of the previous structure trying to reassert itself. Do not check for proof. The moment proof is needed, authorship is incomplete. Reality will confirm the shift only when it's fully rendered. Understanding that the final pushback is the last stage of rendering. The strongest resistance always happens just before the final fractal locks in. This is when most people break, not realizing they were moments away from stabilization. Once the void is held long enough, the fractal becomes self-reinforcing and reality begins to reflect as if it as the dominant structure. At this point, authorship is no longer something being created, it is something that simply is. Introduction to systemic bypass. Not everyone wants to change the world, not everyone needs to. For many people, the goal of reality creation is not about restructure an entire system, it's simply to stop being trapped inside of it. Maybe you don't care about dismantling capitalism, reforming education, or rewriting the rules of power. Maybe you just want to live a life on your own terms without negotiating with a system that doesn't serve you. Systemic bypass is the method of stepping out of framework without engaging in conflict or reform. If you ever thought, I don't want to fight this, I just want to be free from it. I don't care how people do things, I just want my own way of work. I'm tired of playing by the rules I never agreed to. Then systemic bypass is your path forward. This is the first level of reality creation where you